Canucks win! Canucks win, taking down the former rival Chicago Blackhawks in, look, not the most exciting game, but hey, a win is a win is a win, and the Canucks get a much needed 2 points as they have been slowly falling down those playoff race trackers over the last week or two as other teams are winning, and the Canucks sort of stagnated around the 500 mark, but they're back above 500. We're getting their 20th win of the season. 12th under Bruce Boudreau in the 600th games of JT Miller and Alex Chiasson. All right, we'll break this one down as we always do. I'll give you my pluses, my minuses, and folks, I am going to need your help tonight because we need this show to go for almost an hour because Canucks After Dark is at 8 p.m. tonight. It's linked in the pinned comment because I have hockey tonight, so we're going to do the show right after this one. I'm going to try to take you all into Canucks After Dark, and we can talk about the Canucks for basically the next 2 hours or so, which will be a lot of fun. Let's start this off. The big controversy of the night was Vasily Podkolzin getting scratched. I'm going to talk about that near the end. Let me throw that in my notes. First period, Canucks come out hot. Honestly, last game, they get 15 shots the entire night against Calgary, and they come out, they had like 4 or 5 shots in the first couple of minutes. They came out flying. The JT Miller-Brock Besser pairing, Jason Dickinson, we'll talk about him later. They were hot, they were flying, they were getting double shifted early because they were playing really good hockey, and the Canucks were riding with them pretty well. And 12 minutes in, though, it is elite Vancouver Canucks goal scorer Alex Chiasson getting a feed from Justin Dowling down low. Then the Canucks are up 1-0. It's Chiasson's 5th, his first of the year at 5-on-5, and it's his 600th game in the NHL. The Blackhawks get a chance to come in 2-on-1, a give and go. Lafferty, wide open net, easiest tipping of his career, and he totally chokes the bag. It goes off the top of his stick, misses the net. Canucks survive, up a goal. Shots in the first period, 11-6 in a period that they were just the better team, right? Flat out, the Canucks were the better team in the first. We go to the second. Canucks, again, great start to the period, and they keep it up for a few minutes, and they make it 2-0. A prolonged shift in the offensive zone, once again, for Miller and Besser and Dickinson. Quinn Hughes helping out. He comes down the left wing, sort of just fires it towards the net. Brock Besser with a cheeky little tip, not even like right in front of the net either, like 6 feet away from Quinn Hughes, tips the shot just inside the post, past Fleury. End of a fantastic shift, and it's 2-0. Honestly, rest of the second period, pretty low key. Canucks had 10 shots in the first 7 minutes of the second period. They had 0 shots for the last 13 minutes of the second period. We've talked a lot about these stretches in Canucks games this year where they have gone 8, 10, 12, this time 13 minutes without a shot. They hit 30 shots tonight, but they could have had so many more if they were just putting more pucks on net. We go to the third period again. Pretty low event third period. The Blackhawks get within 1 with 7 minutes to play. Patrick Kane feeds Connor Murphy. Pretty bad goal. It's a one-timer, not a super hard shot. It was like 75 miles an hour, I think they said, which is hard, but it's not that hard. It's basically a one-timer at the center of the net. Halak slides over, and it gets between like the glove and the hip almost. Just a goal that Halak wants back. And in a night where honestly Halak was pretty good, right? Allows only the 1 goal. Could have had a shutout if he didn't let that one go through, but it is 2-1. Blackhawks pressing, trying to get back in this game. They take a really dumb too many men penalty with 3 minutes to go, and the Canucks just take 2 minutes off the clock, and they're trying to keep the puck in the offensive zone, and then Luke Schenn makes a bad mistake. He pinches in, getting aggressive with like 45 seconds to go, up a goal. You don't need to do that. Horvat tries to feed him. It gets broken up. They have an odd man rush the other way, and the Canucks have a forward back on defense. It looks a little scary. Chicago sets up. A shot from Patrick Kane is blocked by Luke Schenn, making up for it, and he rips it like 190 feet down into the open cage at the other end of the ice. And it's 3-1, the final score in Chicago at the Madhouse on Madison, or whatever it's called, where the Canucks have had a lot of problems in the past. It was a quiet arena tonight. The Canucks sort of played boring hockey for most of the game, and the Blackhawks played pretty boring hockey for most of the game, and it just took the life completely out of that arena, and it worked in the Canucks' favor because the Blackhawks could not get anything going tonight. Pluses and minuses, as always. These are sort of my thoughts on the game, the things I thought the Canucks did well, the things I thought the Canucks did not do so well. Well, on the pluses, the first plus is that they shut the Blackhawks down. They completely neutralized any offensive threat that they had. Look, they have a couple of really good offensive players, right? We're talking about guys like Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat. Seth Jones, say what you want about him analytically, but he's a good offensive player, right? He is a dangerous player. I mean, Patrick Kane has 31 assists this year, right? He's a hell of a hockey player. Canucks hold him to 21 shots tonight. While the Canucks had 32. That's pretty good. 21 shots. You can't complain too much about that. Of course, you guys know I like to go into Natural Stat Trick and see sort of analytically where the Canucks were tonight. And if we go in all situations, expected goals, 67% for the Vancouver Canucks. Expected goals for the Chicago Blackhawks was 1.38. So in an average game, Chicago should have scored 1.38 goals based on the chances that they had tonight. That is one of the worst this season. It's like the 7th worst or something like that. So a pretty good, actually, hold on, let me load this up. All strengths, submit, sort by expected goals against, where is it? There it is. That was the best, either the best defensive game from the Canucks or the worst offensive game against them all season. The previous best for the Canucks, at least expected goals wise, was 1.74, and that was the game that was Bruce Boudreau's first game, where the Kings lost 4-0 to the Canucks. This one was the just the worst, and it kind of felt like it, right? So the Canucks just controlled the game, shut them down, which we love to see. Other pluses on the night. Quinn Hughes is still just so good. I rave about him literally every game because I continuously cannot believe how good of a hockey player that he is. He was fantastic. Again, he just always is. Excellent game from Hughes. I don't know if he had any stats. The stats thing hasn't refreshed on NHL.com's website, which is annoying, where it shows you all the stats for the game, so I can't see all of them, but gets another assist tonight, 2 shots on net in 27 minutes of ice time. Pretty impressive. The Canucks rolling with basically 4 defensemen most of this game. Noah Juulsen got 10 minutes, and Brad Hunt got 14. Other pluses, Luke Schenn, 21 minutes of ice time, scores the empty netter. And again, the stats for the game won't load, but I heard that he was close to setting a Canucks record for hits in a game. And I want to pull it up. Oh, I think I've got it. Does this have hits on it? It does. Luke Schenn officially had 12 hits tonight. I think the Canucks record is 13. In a game that not a lot happened, that's a hell of a scoreline. A goal and 12 hits and 2 blocks and 3 giveaways. So you know what, Luke Schenn, hats off to you. 12 hits in this one. Mackenzie Entwistle had 6 on the Chicago side, but a good game from Luke Schenn all around. Jaroslav Halak gets a plus for me. He was perfect other than that one pretty bad goal. Spencer Martin would have had that, but hey, he played well. And the penalty kill went a perfect 2 for 2 tonight. And a big plus on that is the Canucks only took 2 penalties. This is a team, keep in mind, that has the worst penalty kill in the NHL. Their only real shot at not allowing power play goals is to not take any penalties. And that's what they did tonight. They have a perfect night on the penalty kill. But there are some minuses to this game. It wasn't a perfect game. The Canucks didn't play that great. They just kept the Chicago Blackhawks from doing that much. On the minus side, it felt like Jason Dickinson was getting just dragged along by JT Miller and Brock Besser. Like it was like, you ever see when, people are like on a boat and there's a person like water skiing behind the boat and they fall, but they don't let go of the rope. So they're just kind of back there like flopping in the water. That's kind of what it felt like Jason Dickinson was doing tonight. He looked slow. He was slow to pucks. Every time the play went to him, it was like, oh, okay, it might end here. And he wasn't making great passes. He just seemed like a step behind tonight. And playing with JT Miller and Brock Besser, who had excellent games, in my opinion. Like the two of them together were dynamic. They were fast. They were causing problems for Chicago. Jason Dickinson was neutralizing that a little bit, right? If they had been out there with a guy, I don't know, maybe a certain Russian rookie who got scratched tonight, that would have been a neat dynamic to play with them. Maybe a little more exciting, maybe a potential for a few more shots on goal. But hey, I genuinely don't think Dickinson played very well tonight. Another minus is that the game was pretty boring. We already went over that. 0 for 4 on the power play tonight. And again, the Canucks are having trouble scoring. It's another game where they get 2 goals if you exclude the empty netter. They're up against, not great teams, and they're struggling to score goals. Chicago isn't great, and they just completely struggle. 30 shots, 2 goals, I guess 29 shots out of the empty netter and 2 goals. It's not good enough. And my other minus is that Podkolzin was scratched. Now, I don't care that much. Am I crazy? Am I crazy for not being like outraged that Vasily Podkolzin was scratched? Couple reasons. One, I think Boudreau has earned the benefit of the doubt so far. My main criticisms of Boudreau so far is that I wish that there's a lot of people that have been brought up by Boudreau, guys like Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser. I think Quinn Hughes is somehow even playing better. JT Miller's getting a bunch of points. A lot of people are playing way better under Boudreau, and the Canucks are winning way more games. The people who aren't playing that much better, Niels Höglander, Vasily Podkolzin. They're not getting a lot of ice time. They're not doing a lot with that ice time. Höglander tonight, again, just sort of, you'd see guys like JT Miller, or actually more aptly, you'd see guys like Connor Garland go in and spin twice on the wall, get away from a guy and keep possession. Höglander would try it, he'd lose the puck, right? It wasn't really his night either. And it feels like those two are really struggling under Boudreau. I'm fine with Podkolzin getting a night off, right? Not really for rest purposes. They have the All-Star break in 2 days. But hey, he hasn't been playing excellent. I think he's got 3 points in his last 15 games or something. Hasn't scored in 10. He's struggling. So to take him out of the lineup, I'm okay with. My problem is you have guys like Jason Dickinson, who I don't think you're taking him out of the lineup, but he's not playing great. Alex Chiasson, yes, he scored tonight. Of course he did, because I was going to criticize him. I think you're better served with some of these other guys in there getting more ice time, right? But it hasn't been working out. So we'll see. We'll see if they get some more ice time after the All-Star break. Hopefully the Canucks get healthy and healthier, and maybe they won't play as much, which might hurt development, but it might be good for this team for now. We will see what happens. Oh, another plus I didn't add in. It was a short game. It was 2 hours and 21 minutes officially. That's excellent. I love that. And one other big plus I have, Canucks are back above 500. They've only played 19 home games this year. This was their 26th game on the road. So they have 7 more home games than away games the rest of the way, which should be a nice little bump if they can win a few extra of those. And that's my thoughts on the game. Let's get to yours. If you have a question, we're going to be here for a little while. So if you have a question or a comment, here's your thoughts on the game. Also, we'll do a little preview later on, because I think the Canucks play their final game before the All-Star break tomorrow against the Nashville Predators. Then they get about a week off. So let's also another plus, Canada beat the US yesterday 2-0 in soccer, which was sick. All right, let's get to your thoughts, your opinions, your takes. As I was just talking about Alex Chiasson, Marcus says, Chiasson's growing on me a bit. Yeah, he honestly had a pretty good game tonight. I don't hate to say it. I'd like him to be great, but I haven't loved him very much. Not an excellent game, a good game from Alex Chiasson, without a doubt. Genuinely a pretty good game. Do we know how much ice time did he get? Where's my magic ice time machine? He played 10 minutes and 30 seconds tonight. Almost nothing. Höglander played only 8.5 minutes. Justin Dowling played 7:42. Yeah. But yeah, Alex Chiasson scores a goal. 50% on the draw, 1-1. We love to see it. What else we got here? James, I don't think I recognize your name, James. Welcome. I really like the puck control. Looked really solid most of the time. I agree. There were a lot of those stretches. Again, it seemed to mostly be the Miller and Besser pairing, and I think mostly JT Miller, who had I think an excellent game. They seem to just retain possession for long periods of time in the Chicago zone. I fully agree there. Colton says, do you think if we trade JT Miller, it'll hurt the development of our younger players, kind of like we saw with Tanev leaving? I don't think so. I think the goal is you build a culture in the room that is good enough that it doesn't matter if other people leave. I think we saw that the culture might not have been all it was cracked up to be under the previous regime. It looked like people had kind of quit on the team and weren't happy. I think that's almost more important than just the people there. It's how the people are. But it definitely could. But I have no way of being sure on that. Fun Q saying Shen has been a beauty lately. I hope he resigns. Or was he on for another year? I thought he was on for another year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's on until next year. He's making $850 this year, $850 next year. Well, technically $800 this year, $900 next year, but $850 on the cap for each year. Justin saying Chason and Dowling look good in place of Podkolzin. One game scratch isn't a bad thing for Podkolzin development. I agree. It's one game. If we're seeing Podkolzin not play for like a week or 2 weeks, other than the All-Star break, of course, then we can be a little concerned or frustrated or whatever. But look, we have not yet had any reason to doubt Bruce Boudreau's decision-making. So why would we? Right? Again, I think the Canucks need to be scoring more goals. I think that is right now their second biggest problem behind special teams is the lack of goal scoring. But they are winning games. And that is the most important thing you can do in this league is win hockey games. And they're doing that. Why is it something saying Canucks gave up a few rushes? They were mostly defended well. I agree. Yeah, they had, I mean, we can look mainly at that last one there, right? Where Shen had that bad giveaway, not a bad giveaway, a bad pinch. And then the pass got broken up where the Blackhawks went 3-on-2 the other way. And one of those two was a forward. So a really prime scoring opportunity, a prime rush. And the Canucks played it really well. They kept him to the outside. They didn't let the pass through to the middle. They forced Seth Jones to completely turn around and try to set up in the zone. And that allowed everyone to come back and catch up, which is excellent. They did defend very well tonight. Max saying it was 2-2 Oilers and Sens. Has anything changed in that one? Ottawa winning that in OT 3-2. So Edmonton gets 1 point tonight. Anaheim also losing in overtime tonight, getting a single point. Shout out Florida Columbus, a 12-goal game between them. Florida winning 8-4. Sorry if you started Merzlikins in fantasy. My goodness. They saying a win against Chicago doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Still need a massive run to get to a wildcard spot. Yes, it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence because Chicago isn't that great, although they were just 5 points behind the Canucks coming into this game. But we can look at it as at least they got the job done, right? They went up against a team that they should beat, and they beat them. Did they score a lot? No. But they defended really well. They prevented Chicago from getting anything going, right? Their best chance was that one by, I had his name written down, and that's why I knew it last time. Lafferty. I don't know who Lafferty is, but there was a 2-on-1 or a give and go, and he had the best chance of the game, and he whiffed it over the net. Sometimes the puck just goes your way. And then their only goal was a goal that almost every goalie in the NHL saves 95% of the time. Halak just missed it, right? It happens. So I think they got the job done tonight. If they had lost this game, then it would have been the exact opposite. It would be like, man, that's bad, right? Especially when the Canucks need to beat these bad teams. They need to basically beat all the bad teams they play and then beat some of the good teams as well if they want to make a run. So these are the games where you got to just knock them out. You got to get your 2 points and get out of there. And it's on the road. So a road win is always nice. Kai with the scouting report of the scouts saying 12 scouts were in attendance for tonight's game. Boston, Calgary, Columbus, Dallas, Montreal, Nashville, New Jersey, the Rangers, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay X2, and Vegas. Trader Jim about to get to work. You think Dickinson on the first line was fully a coaching decision? Yes, I do think it was fully a coaching decision. I don't think he's going to Boudreau and saying, hey, we need to build up these guys' trade value. I genuinely don't think they're doing that. I do think Trader Jim's going to get to work though. And I do need to sneeze. Oh, I lost it. Oh, I was mid inhale for it and I lost the sneeze. That's so sad. Yeah, I think it's good. There's a lot of guys in attendance for tonight's game. They're probably not going to be that impressed with any guys other than JT Miller. Garland was fine. I mean, there are these Garland rumors. We're going to talk about the Connor Garland rumors on Canucks After Dark at 8 p.m. It's linked in the pinned comment. Maybe just open that in another tab if you're on your computer. Get ready for it. Yeah, I do think that was fully a coaching decision though. Diglett saying, if you have to be honest, do you think this team could be a genuine threat in the playoffs with the current roster? Probably not. No. Unless you have Thatcher Demko being absolutely insane again, that's probably their best shot, right? I think they're a team that you put them up against Florida, and they're not like they get to the Cup final, but I mean, if the Canucks were to be a genuine threat, they'd probably have to go through a team like Colorado in the first round, right? If they're getting like wild card 2 status, then you're going up against Colorado round 1, right? Either that or Vegas round 1 if you get wild card 1, or if you get even to the third spot, you're playing against some of the division. Either way, second round, let's say you somehow get through Colorado or Vegas. Then you've got like either a Nashville or a Minnesota or a St. Louis. Yeah, they beat St. Louis 2 years ago, but St. Louis is looking better now than they did then. And okay, let's say you get through that. Then you got to get through one other team like a Nashville or a St. Louis, whoever gets through there. And then you're going to be up against Florida or a Tampa or a Carolina or Toronto or Pittsburgh or there's the Canucks. If the Canucks make the playoffs, they're probably like the 12th to 15th best team, 12th to 16th best team in those playoffs. Does that mean they couldn't go on a run? No. Does it mean they're likely to go on a run? Absolutely not. But it could happen. And honestly, for me, I'm just tired of not watching playoff hockey. Playoff hockey is so fun to watch, especially when your team's involved. So I'd like them to make it, but I don't think they're going to make a run if they do. Let's see here. Kai saying, I'd like to see Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Hughes swap spots on the power play. I know Hughes can hold the line really well. I'd prefer seeing OEL shot from the point. I'd prefer to see only one D-man. I don't like that Brad Hunt is on power play too. That's scary to me. And Brad Hunt had a fine game. He made one move in tight, which was wild. But I think the Canucks have enough offensive firepower, especially with everyone back in the lineup, to run 4 forwards. It's been working okay. And even if it doesn't, I don't think it's a personnel problem. I think they have the talent. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is a fantastic power play 2 guy. And then you have Pettersson, Besser, Miller, and Garland or Horvat or Höglander out there on the first unit. And I think you're pretty happy with that. That's just my opinion though. Let's see here. Marcus saying, do you think we get anything back for Dickinson in a trade? I think you could. I don't think you could get a lot. The Canucks paid what, a third for him? I think you could get maybe around a third, maybe a fourth. Again, it would have to be a team that really needs like a third line center or really needs a fourth line center. Although the Canucks might need to retain on that, right? I could see Dickinson at like 50% retained for like a third round pick, which isn't ideal because then you're paying him to not play for you. But I don't know. I'm just making things up. I think some teams would be somewhat interested though. The thing is, there's talks about like, oh, the Canucks are going to trade Miller and Garland and Dickinson and Horvat and Besser, and they're going to trade all these guys. They're taking calls on all of them. They're probably going to trade 1 or 2, right? They're not going to trade everybody, but they're going to trade a couple guys. I just see people online who are like, oh, they're going to trade everybody and blow the whole team up. No, they're going to get rid of a couple guys who can get the most value for them. That's the idea. There's a lot of talk about Miller and Garland trade returns. Not a lot of talk, but I mean, Jack bringing up what would a return for Miller and Garland that you'd be happy with. I don't know. We're going to talk about this a lot more in Canucks After Dark though. Because I need to brainstorm a little bit. Honestly, as much as you can get, if you're going to trade a guy like Connor Garland, who you just picked up and you just paid a lot for, it better be a hell of a return. If you think you are getting positive value out of a trade, I don't care who it is, you make the trade, right? And I think that's sort of Jim Rutherford's philosophy is he's thinking, there's a lot, you can say, okay, well, the XYZ player is untouchable, right? But I mean, if someone's giving you if someone's extremely overpaying, even for an untouchable player, I mean, it's in your best interest to take it. That's why I don't think anyone should really be untouchable, except like your core, right? I'm talking Quinn Hughes. I'm talking Elias Pettersson. And that's kind of it, right? If someone's willing to give you the next 3 first overall picks for Connor Garland, sure, do it, right? Like I that's sort of the boat I'm in. Go Canuck Gus saying, speaking of players improving under Boudreau, do you think Horvat has been better under the new coach? I don't think Horvat's changed all that much. I think Horvat's been he's struggling to convert. I feel like he's playing all right, but he's not really converting, if that makes sense. He's got 23 points in 40 games. It's his lowest points per game in a long time. And he needs to step it up. That's it. He just needs to be better. I don't think he's really gotten better under Boudreau. I don't think he's gotten worse. Agam saying Juleson makes Pullman and Hamonic contracts look terrible. Yeah. Any decent defenseman makes your 6th or 7th D-man making multiple millions of dollars look bad. That's because you don't need to pay a defenseman $2.5 million, especially not 4 times in Tucker Pullman. Or in the case of Travis Hamonic, who might be a number 5D, but doesn't play because he's hurt, or the whole fiasco earlier in the season. Yeah, it's a waste of money. It's just a waste of cap space. Mark is saying thoughts on OEL in general. He's been fine. You say very few points, but been fine on defense. Yeah, he's been fine on defense. He's been absolutely fine. He has been an excellent $4 million defender, in my opinion. Problem is he makes 7. But hey, that was part of the Garland trade, right? He's been fine. No complaints. Let's see here. Agam's saying the team's very good defensively, which is, let's stop there. Crazy that we're saying that at this point, because remember at the beginning of the year how we're looking at the rosters like, man, the defense is going to be terrible, and they're without Hamonic. They are playing really well defensively, and it is weird. And I think, again, a lot of it comes down to the goaltending being phenomenal. But yeah, they are struggling to score. I think the Canucks are just playing a very low event game. They're playing very aggressive, which means they're playing tight. There's just a lot less space out there in these games, and it's helping them. It's winning them some games, but they're not scoring any goals. So the games where they do get scored on, they lose. Let's see here. I'm going to skip a few here. I don't want to skip too many because I want to kill some time. Ryan saying, what do you think about the Canucks killing 13 penalties in a row? Are they getting better? Have they actually killed 13 in a row? That's crazy, because remember that road trip where the Canucks allowed a goal every game? Every game. So that means probably last 3 or 4 games they've killed everything. I mean, they haven't been scored on a lot in general, right? I think what has helped the Canucks is they're not taking a lot of penalties in every game, right? We see games like this one, they take 2 penalties. We see the last game, like they took 2 penalties. I think you play better when you're not shorthanded 12 minutes a night. I mean, they're getting better in a sense, but remember they were getting better when Boudreau started, and then they played absolutely terrible on the penalty kill for like 2 weeks, and now they're playing great on the penalty kill. I'm worried that this is just going to be a flip-flopping streak that the Canucks go on. Because keep in mind, the Canucks also aren't really scoring on the power play right now either. So, special teams is kind of just a waste of time at this point. Talentair saying, what have you thought about Myers' play recently? It's been fine. I didn't like the hit last game. I thought that was dumb. And I didn't like the overtime dump in. You know, the fact that more negatives are coming to my mind than positives probably isn't a great sign. I think he played fine tonight. I know he had one really good play where he had like a pass breakup, but honestly, he hasn't been that noticeable, which is surprising because he is the tallest man alive. And he played probably another 30 minutes tonight. What did he play? 24 and a half. I haven't really noticed him, to be completely honest. Agam saying the Canucks would be dumb not to listen to calls on anyone not named Hughes and Demko. I think even Demko. Again, I'm not saying you trade Demko. I'm saying you listen to calls, right? If someone's offering you 2 first-round picks for your goalie, you always take that, because goalies will. If Demko 2 years from now has an 828 save percentage, that's just goalies for you, right? And Demko's fantastic, and I don't want to trade Demko. So I'm just being silly, but I think you listen to calls on everybody. If Edmonton calls you up and says, hey, we'll give you Connor McDavid for Thatcher Demko, you say, okay. You don't hang up the phone. You're like, I'm not taking calls on Demko. Obviously, that's a hell of an example, but you get the idea. Agam saying also that Chason and Miller played the same amount of games. I did notice that. And Miller didn't get on the score sheet tonight, though. Chason did. Good for you, Chason. Sam saying, is Hamonic even playing in the AHL? No, he's injured. He's hurt. How many games has he played this year? 4? That's my guess. How many games has he played? 9. That actually surprises me. He's played 9 games this year. He's played almost a quarter of the games. That's crazy. Good for you, Travis Hamonic. 1 point, 2 PIMs, -1. Yeah, I watched him. I saw him he played 2 games in Abbotsford. I was there for one of them, and he didn't look great against AHL competition. Yeah, he has had a rough year so far. Chris saying, I don't care who gets traded. All I care is that we're building towards a championship. I agree. I also don't, honestly, here's the thing. Trades suck, but trades are exciting because trades suck because you might lose a player you really like, right? We're talking about if they were to go out and trade a guy like Brock Besser, for example. I love Brock Besser. But if they get more than they give, then you do it, right? If it gets the team closer, if it makes your team 5% better or 5% more likely to win a Stanley Cup or whatever metric you want to use, then you do it, which sucks, but it's also exciting and it's interesting and it's cool. You look at the NBA. Every year in the NBA, there are some crazy trades. We are talking like top 5 players in the league getting traded for like 4 first-round picks and a bunch of prospects. It's crazy, but it's so interesting. And it's so, it just dials everyone in. It makes everyone excited. It makes the playoffs so wild because it's like, hey, this team has gone all in and they went out and got, it's like, it would be like a team. It would be like a team trading for Leon Draisaitl right before the playoffs and trading like 4 first-round picks and a number 1 defenseman for him. Like the NBA does that so well where there's these crazy storylines and it's so interesting. NHL teams are afraid to make change, right? It feels like NHL teams are more afraid to make mistakes than they are to go out and try to do something that can help their team win because they get clowned for it if they make a bad trade. Think of Jim Benning. We've clowned him for some things in the past, right? The Eric Goodbranson trade, not the second one, the first one. That was him making an attempt to make the team better. A bad attempt, but he attempted to make the team better. These crazy moves just don't happen in hockey all that much, unfortunately, because it's so exciting. What else we got? Alter saying, which guys do you think are more likely to go? I think Miller is the most likely to go just because he's got so much value. And he's the oldest, really, of the forward core. I think if they could get something for a guy like, if they could get anything for Tucker Poolman, I think you jump on that. I think if you can get something for Luke Shen, even though Luke Shen has been a really solid like 6D, again, I think if you can get something for him, you probably do that too. So I don't know. I think guys lower down the lineup, if you can get something for Alex Chason, if someone offers you a 5th for Alex Chason, sweet. Free draft pick. Let's go. Free lottery ticket. Let's see here. Gmod saying, what has been the most impressive improvement overall in your opinion since Boudreaux? It's not a quantifiable thing, but like heart, which is dumb, like effort level in general, right? Dedication, motivation. I sound like The Rock right now. Drive, power, hungriness. Genuinely, it feels like they care more and they seem more engaged and they seem more aggressive. And that's really been the main difference, right? Like it's just been, they've been faster on pucks. They've been trying harder. They've been playing a more fast paced game. There have been some games where they've looked like the old team, but there have been some games where like the first few minutes of this game, for example, or, even if you go all the way back to the game against the Kings or the game against Florida, There's these games where the Canucks are out there and they're just flying, and they weren't doing that before. And I think that's the biggest improvement, is sort of the buy-in, is convincing everyone, hey, let's play some hockey. Let's see here. Excuse me. Rahul saying, if Besser and Pettersson were able to regain some of their old chemistry, which winger in the NHL would you love to have on that line? Here's the thing. Besser and Pettersson can both shoot. They can also both pass pretty well. I want a grinder who can score out there, to add. Let's go with Alex Ovechkin, right? I don't know. That would be a fun one to have on that line. Also can score. I don't know. Who else some sort of scoring grinder, like a Nazem Kadri, maybe. Kadri's a center though, isn't he? But like someone along those lines. Brian Rust is playing great, right? I don't know. Someone who's a hard-nosed player. Vasily Podkolzin, maybe, if Vasily Podkolzin was 4 times better. That sort of vibe. Justin asking my thoughts on the defensive play this season. Looks light years better than the tire fire last season. Is that the Shaw effect? I don't know. I honestly don't know why it is better than it's supposed to be. I think a lot of it is support from forwards. I don't know why it's working defensively. Again, the Canucks are one of the best teams 5-on-5 defensively this year. At least they're top 10, I think. I don't know exactly what they were. But it doesn't make any sense when you look at personnel, right? You have guys like Oliver Ekman-Larsson who shouldn't be playing as well defensively as he is. And Quinn Hughes, who is having a huge bounce back year. I don't know. I genuinely don't know why it's working. I've played defense most of my life. But it's always, it never really clicks in my mind, like watching it like, oh, they're doing this, and this better, because there's less systemic stuff for defensemen. There's only 2 of you. One of you basically covers each side of the ice. Puck goes in that corner. One guy goes to the corner. One guy goes in front of the net. You swap, you go up ice. One guy can pinch, get a forward to cover. It's pretty, playing defense is pretty basic. It's just your mistakes are amplified, right? I think they're just playing smart. I genuinely don't have a good answer. Agam saying that the games are getting kind of boring now. You are right. Can we call it Rathbone to bring some excitement? It is crazy that they're winning games that we're finding boring. I mean, you look at, the game that they won 5-1 against the Jets, it wasn't even that exciting. The last game against the Flames was a complete snoozer. Yeah, they need some excitement. Whether that is Jack Rathbone, like you mentioned, whether that's, Podkolzin hasn't really been bringing that excitement level. I think the Canucks are really trying to win games. So they're getting these leads and they're kind of holding off a bit. I don't know. I hope they can get a little more excitement going though. Maybe they need to drink some more coffee before the game. Like I genuinely don't have a good idea as to how they can keep up that intensity the entire game. However, if you are on the road, it's a fine way to play, right? You want the game to be kind of boring if you're a road team. If you can keep it close, but keep the opposing crowd out of it, you're in a pretty good spot. And that's basically what they did tonight. Fangirl saying, who would you pick for your 3 stars tonight? Luke Schenn has to be on there. I think you're going Schenn, Halak. Oh, but I want Besser and Miller both on there. Miller didn't get a point. Besser got 2. I think you put Besser on there. I'm saying you go, Brock Besser is your first star. Jaro Halak is your second star, and Luke Schenn is your third star. Now let me see what the actual was. See if I can pull it up. What is it on here? Yeah, they went Besser, Halak, and Schenn. Exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. Are you kidding me? God, I'm so smart. I am so smart. I swear I didn't have that pulled up. I'm actually fired up about that. Okay. Nailed it. All right. Agam saying, would you be interested in bringing Troy Stetcher back? A serviceable right D who could eat up minutes. I would be interested in bringing any right defenseman over. He's only played 6 games this year. Is he just a healthy scratch, or is he injured? Oh, he's injured. He has a wrist injury. Okay. That's unfortunate. Yeah, no, I'd want anyone any right defenseman back, to be honest. I don't think you can pay him all that much, though. He is a UFA after this year, but I don't think he's getting a raise if he's not playing at all. So, Bruce saying, are you afraid that the Canucks management might trade too many of the Canucks top players? It means they do a rebuild. It doesn't necessarily mean they do a rebuild for one. If you're trading for younger, slightly worse players that eventually will develop to that level that makes playoff teams better and it makes you better in the future, it's a rebuild, but it's more of a retool. And that word scares me based off of Jim Benning. Here's the thing. The Canucks have one of the worst prospect cupboards in the NHL right now, right? All of their good prospects have basically graduated to the NHL. Like there's guys like Jet Wu, he's not an A prospect. Klimovich, also not an A prospect. And that's kind of it, right? The Canucks don't have like prospects coming up and they're capped out. There's no easy path to improvement without getting rid of some people on the cap and getting some picks or some prospects to have young, cheap players coming up. In a salary cap league, the way that you make the best team, it's all about cap efficiency, right? Because every team gets the same amount of money to spend unless you're Arizona or Ottawa because you don't have actual real dollars. So the team that is most efficient with that money and has the most good contracts and the least bad contracts usually has the best team. And one way to do that is if you have young players on cheap contracts that are overachieving, like Elias Pettersson in his first 2 seasons, like Quinn Hughes in his first 2 seasons. That's sort of the perfect time to go all in. The thing is, the Canucks don't have any more help coming, really, right? This is basically the roster unless they make moves. And the thing is, I don't think they're going to trade that many top players. I think they might trade 1 or 2. Right. I think they might, if they go the Miller and Garland route and they trade both of them, which is sort of the rumors that are floating around. Right. But that maybe brings you back a top 4 defenseman and a couple of first round picks and maybe an up and coming prospect. Eventually, because the Canucks aren't in their cup window right now. Right. And they're not going to be in their cup window if we're generous for another 2 years. Let's say they're 2 years away from starting to open that window because they're not there right now. I mean, we're talking about guys who probably aren't big piece, like Connor Garland, probably a big piece still at that time, right? 27 years old at that time would be an excellent player to have. Or you could have gotten a first round pick and a top prospect for him. And maybe that top prospect is now 23 years old and hitting his prime, hitting the start of his prime. That's going to last 7 years instead of Connor Garland's 3, right? It's about maximizing those 10 years, maximizing the amount of value you have. And it's risky, right? There's risk involved, but there's also risk involved in not doing anything and then losing JT Miller in unrestricted free agency a year from now and getting nothing for him. And other players maybe wanting to leave because the team's not winning games. So it's a real balancing act. I'm not a general manager. I will leave that to the pros. If they want my opinions and they're listening, go find your opinion somewhere else, GMs, because I am just a random person. I don't think they're cleaning house. I don't think you're going to wake up the day after trade deadline and they're not going to have Miller, Besser, Garland, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Demko are all gone, right? I don't think that's what we're in for, in my opinion. Go Canuck Gus saying, have you heard anything about Brandon Sutter? I was listening to Halford and Bruff on Friday, and Bruff was away. Drance was on, and Drance was saying that he doesn't expect to see Sutter back this year because he had just talked to him. Probably not back this year, which is really unfortunate for the Canucks. But that's sort of the update. Lauren saying, Parker, is it about drive? Is it about power? It is. That is correct. Thank you. Thank you for entertaining me. Lauren saying, do you have a Miller trade proposal brought up? Not really. Again, I don't focus a lot on the prospects in other people's systems, right? I've seen people float names like Lafreniere on the high end, guys like Hedel and Schneider, and especially if we're focusing on the Rangers side. I haven't really watched them play. I don't know much about them. I could do a bunch of research on them, but then the Canucks wouldn't trade for them, and then I'd have wasted a bunch of time. So what will happen is the Canucks will make a trade. Maybe it's JT Miller for a few players and a few picks or whatever it ends up being. And then I will do a bunch of internet research, put together an opinion over the course of like 15 minutes. Also base it on what other people say. I'll look on like Rangers Twitter and see what they're saying, and then I'll form an opinion. But it's hard for me to make that like immediate, like, oh, Schneider in a first and Hedl. Yes, let's do it. Cause I don't know enough about them. Cause I haven't watched the Rangers all that close this year. We've only seen them. Have the Canucks even played the Rangers yet this year? Maybe once. They played them on November 2nd. Oh, I was at that game and the Canucks won 3-2. Gmod saying, I think Mott gets traded. Unfortunately, I think that's in the Canucks' best interest. Again, I love Tyler Mott. I say this all the time. He is one of the most valuable pieces the Canucks have, at least as a rental, because, again, if we talk about the Canucks competing 2 years from now, Tyler Mott will be 28, which is a fine age, but he's a fourth liner, right? Any decline is bad for a fourth liner. And all the rumors are that he's going to be looking for like $2.5 million next year, which I think he deserves, but I think it would be an overpayment. And I don't think the Canucks should be the team to make that payment, if that makes sense. He hasn't played a full season in his career. Again, I love him. I just think if you can get something for him instead of losing him for free in free agency, you absolutely should. And that's sort of always my philosophy. Rahul saying that he's been incredible this year. Agam saying if Quinn Hughes doesn't get Norris votes, the voters have no idea what an elite D-man is. Oh, they're on the East Coast. They don't see these games. But no, Quinn Hughes has been by far the best player on this team, in my opinion. Like it's been unreal. He has been so good. He got his 32nd assist of the season tonight in 44 games. He's on pace for like 68 points, maybe 65. That's insane for a D-man. He's been so good. And he's only 22. It's crazy. A 22-year-old D-man doing this. And the thing is, if it weren't for guys like Adam Fox and Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes would be like this crazy unicorn. If we go back to, if you take Quinn Hughes and put him in the league 10 years ago, there's no one else really like him, right? There's a couple. There's like Doughty, I guess, and Subban, but they weren't like skater types, right? Like Cale Makar is. Cale Makar and Hughes just happened into the league at the same time, and Cale Makar just happens to be a little bit better, so Quinn Hughes gets overshadowed it. But Quinn Hughes is so good. It's unreal. Jaden saying the chances that Vancouver makes the playoffs this season. What were they at coming into this game? I had it up. Let me pull it up here. The Athletic playoff chances. I like the Athletics model personally because it's made me a lot of money. Coming into tonight, the Canucks were at a 10% chance. I imagine with a win tonight and the Oilers and Ducks both losing in overtime, I imagine that goes up a small amount, like maybe 12, 13, maybe. I don't know. It'll be tight. It's not looking great. Let's see here. Fun Q saying, what do you think the ceiling of Podkolzin can be? Do you see him as a 40-point player who scores 20 goals? Do you see a 50, 60-point player who scores 30? This is tough. The thing is, if someone scores 30 goals once, they are branded a 30-goal scorer forever. I don't think Podkolzin gets there from what we've seen. However, 2 years ago, his draft stock, he was supposed to be like the number 2 pick. Ended up falling to 10. I think he'll consistently, what does he have this year? Before I say anything dumb, what does he have this year? He has 10 points in 42 games, so on pace for 20 points. I think if you have Vasily Podkolzin putting up 40 points a year and maybe like 18 goals, 22 assists, something around there, I think you're pretty okay with that. I think that's around where I expect. And then maybe he has a season or two where he gets like 26 to 28 to 20 to 30 goals or whatever. I think he's probably like a 45, 50 point guy on the regular would be my hope. And I'd be totally okay with that because that is a pretty good second line player in the NHL. It's like an average second liner, which I think is probably what Podkolzin projects out to be. Gonna skip a few. Oh yeah, there's talking about the reverse retro. Why is this something saying, what do you want the reverse retro to be? They gotta go flying V, right? It's the one jersey they haven't really remade. Because the reverse retro last year was based on, I don't know even what it was based on. It was based on a Sprite can, I guess. But they've made the skate again. They've done stick and rink. Obviously the Orc is still here. The V hasn't really made a return, right? I mean, there was the Millionaires jersey. But if they do the flying V in green and blue, which is probably really ugly, but like, I like ugly jerseys. If you're going to do a one-off, I don't care how ugly it is. That's fun. So that'd be pretty sick. Talinator, give me 3 solid reasons the Canucks shouldn't sign you. In this case, me. I think you would be a solid player. 3 reasons that they shouldn't. 1, I am not an NHL caliber hockey player. 2, I'm pretty small. I'm like 5'10". I mean, we talk about how short Quinn Hughes is. He's the same height as me. And I am basically Quinn Hughes sized. All right. I could hit the gym and put on 10 pounds and, you know, I could try to get up to like 185, but it would take a lot of work. I have no finish. I can skate really well. However, once I skated next to a player who played like WHL level and it was hilarious. I don't know if any of you play hockey. If you ever get the opportunity to skate with a player who even played at like the AHL level before, and I'm talking, if you went out there and you skated against, like, think of one of the worst AHL players that you can think of, right? I mean, let's say a guy that we think is slow. Let's say Alex Chason. We see him as a slow skater. It's hilarious, the difference. If you were to put an average person up next to them, it is so funny. It's crazy. So that's why they shouldn't sign me, because I'm not that good. I play like mid-tier B league or beer league. All right. I'm not a professional. Justin saying, do you think the Basant Motors sponsorship ads as a trade curse? Roussel, McEwen, now Miller and Garland. It's interesting because they went with like the lower end players with like Roussel and McEwen, like you mentioned. Now they go the higher end ones and they're sort of on the block too. I wonder. Oh my God, what is that? Let's not make that noise. I think I accidentally pinged my phone. That was terrible. I might be a curse. Maybe. Jim Rutherford's going to send Pullman over to be the rep. That's a good move. Let's see. Hi T saying, does being the captain guarantee a player does not get traded? No. Case in point, Oliver Ekman-Larsson plays for the Vancouver Canucks. He was the captain in Arizona. The Canucks have also traded Marcus Naslund and they traded Trevor Linden. So no, it doesn't. It makes them less likely because they are a really big piece in the room. And so I don't think Horvat gets traded, but what do I know, right? Alan is saying that Bo, Petey, Hughes, and Demko are the key pieces to build around. I love Miller, Garland, and Besser, but you got to give up something to get something. Yeah, I kind of agree. And I mean, it kind of goes with everybody, right? If you can get more value than you give, that's a good trade. It is 7:56, which I just realized. Rahul saying, perpetually use smelling salts to get on the, to keep energy up, I guess, or was that for me to play? That sounds like a really good way to pass out. If you're just huffing ammonia for for an hour or 2.5 hours while you play, that sounds like a terrible idea. Go Canucks saying, I played pickets and played with a former junior B player. He danced circles around us. Yeah, I've played with like a junior A guy. It's silly. It's like the gap where you're like, oh man, like I had a cousin who played junior A for the Abbotsford Pilots when I was like young, and you'd go to these like junior A's, you're like, man, these guys look like they could be in the NHL, like, because that's the gap compared to you, and the gap from junior A to the NHL is another huge. It's like triple that leap. It's crazy. All right, it is 7:57 and 50 seconds. There is 2 minutes left until Canucks After Dark, folks. There is a link in the chat. I'm spamming it. No, that's a studio link. If you click on that, it won't work. I'm sorry to say. Why does it try to take me to studio? Oh, is that link? Oh, because I'm in YouTube Studio. That's so dumb. I do thank you guys for hanging out with me for the last hour, but we are going to go over and talk with Canuck Clay for the next hour or so. I will spam the link in the chat. Go click on that link, and we'll be live in about 2 minutes with Canucks After Dark. Shout out to all my members. Thank you guys for being here. Hit subscribe, hit like, do all that good stuff. If you want to keep the Canucks talk going for the next 45 to an hour, click on that Canucks After Dark link and come hang out with us there. I got to jump over and get set up because we are live in literally a minute. So thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one.